In this video, I'll be discussing how the anime Twins HinaHima was probably made, just from my own knowledge, and discussing techniques that other AI filmmakers can take into account when making their own anime or animation films. I think there's a lot of things we could learn from this production process. So without further ado, here's the video. Generate the images based on the storyboard. So they hand drew the storyboard. Okay, this is where we get into the fun explaining things. So there's this, I'll probably add some some links to, because I'm not gonna be able to explain all this in a video. I'll put a link to a video that explains it better. So you go from your storyboard, hand drawn on a tablet or whatever, right? The idea is not to, so I think what they probably did is they took this character, they took the storyboard, maybe they isolated just this character, because I don't think they wanted to generate the back, because they had a different approach for generating the background as a different layer. So let's go ahead and just hit play. Oh, hit play. Why isn't it play? Okay, so then you get here. Oh my god, where's my pause button? Oh, I'm covering my pause button. That's why. I'll put you over here. Okay, so let me go back. So what I think they did, so they could have done this in one or two ways. I think the easiest thing, in my opinion, is you start with a storyboard, then you kind of like would isolate this character, right? Because you don't want the AI to generate the background, because you're not going to use the background. You're not going to use you're not going to use the background in the sense, not yet. So you want to generate the character. So what they probably did is they trained a LoRA. So they created character sheets. So the character designer drew out the character sheets, the character in different angles, trained a LoRA on it. Trained a LoRA, which is basically a model. Just think of it as like a model, an AI model on top of a model. So it's basically when you put in keywords, so you train it on a keyword. So in this case, I think the name of this character is Hinana. So when they type in Hinana looking at camera with surprise face or something, and then on top of that, so they use that LoRA with a what we call ControlNet, which essentially these lines will be used to guide the generation of the image. So essentially, instead of the key animators drawing everything by hand, they draw the character reference sheets, they design the character, then train a model on their own drawing style and character design. When they type in the keyword, in combination with the ControlNet, so all this line art is guiding how the character should look when they generate, and that's how you get to this next step here, right? And then the rest of it is just like traditional, where you key out, and now you got your character, right? So then, and this is the fun part. So this is pretty fun. So what they did is they went out on location and took photos. They took photos of the background and the setting they wanted, which I think it's actually a little bit of both. They took a photo of where they wanted to, they took a photo of what they wanted, of where they wanted the shot to be. So in a sense, it's like a hybrid approach. So they took a photo, then they probably went back, made the storyboard art, right? And then from there, we get to this part. So they've generated this AI character, right? So this character with AI, but it's trained on their own drawing style. Now they composite this character. Well, actually, first they're going to generate the background. So you can almost pretend this character isn't here. What they did is they took the photo of the background that they wanted, right? And now they're going to basically essentially run it through it's like style transfer. So you're basically taking a live action, real photograph, and then you're just changing the style with using AI. So the background is also AI generated. So, okay. Yes. Okay. So that's how you get to that essentially. And then you just composite the character onto the AI background. So that's what they did. So basically what they did is storyboard, generate the character using a LoRA, most likely, with the LineArt ControlNet to control the generation so that it's in the character looks particularly the way you want them to look. And then you generate, and then because they took a photograph, then you just you use a kind of like style transfer. They also probably this could have also been like just like stable diffusion. Actually, now that I'm thinking about it, because of how I actually think it is stable diffusion, it's more like this is more just like diffusion, like just your traditional so basically you take the background, you denoise it a little bit, so basically you take your photograph and then you basically add you like noise it up a little bit, so 50%, 60%, so that there's just enough information so that the AI knows what is in the background, so it knows there's some trees. Obviously you're gonna be prompting for this, because if I back up, yeah, they could have, because there's a bunch of like random stuff in this vending machine, so I'm thinking it's not just like a filter. They didn't just like apply a filter on top of it. It's more like they denoised it and then they generated based on that. Yeah, I'll include some videos that explain this a little bit better than I'm going. I'm trying to do this in the quickest way, but essentially you can just think of it. We'll just say they essentially the equivalent of like what you would see on TikTok with like a filter on top of the background. So they took a real photograph of a site on location, and then they just pretty much added like an anime style, kind of like what you could do with ChatGPT nowadays, where you take a photo and they essentially Ghiblify, but that's not what's happening here. It's not necessarily. They have their own custom models, and I think I know how they did this. It's essentially what I would do if like going reverse. Like I would take an anime character, and then I would turn it into live action footage. I would take a character and turn it into live. I would take a character and turn it into live action footage by denoising the anime photo, the anime image, and then denoising it, or actually noising it. It's not even denoising. I'm actually adding noise to it. I'm adding noise to the photo, and then the AI kind of has to like think about, like, tries to fill in the blanks, and then I tell it it's live action, and I tell it what the character is supposed to look like, and that's how we used to do it before ChatGPT made it so freaking easy to make live action characters. Like it's so easy. I probably will never use my custom workflow. There's almost no need because ChatGPT is better. It's better at like understanding your prompt. So yeah. Anyways, that's that. Let's keep going. Okay, so yeah, essentially that's what happened there. Yeah. Okay, same thing, same process. You start. It's the same process. So we're kind of getting a repeat. And then I think this part I have to confirm. I don't think they did key. Yeah, with the animation, maybe they also animated with AI. Let me see. So this is I get it. I didn't understand this for a while, and then now it makes sense. Okay, so going back to the whole LineArt ControlNet. So they most likely use ControlNet plus a LoRa and then they probably had some people clean this up, because I've tried to do something like this and it usually comes out messy. So basically what they did, very interesting. Wow, if I'm understanding this correctly, very interesting. So what they did is, and this is where it's coming with this is human. There's no way to do this, like, to get something this smooth. And I know people who are not familiar with AI, like, this is very high quality for an AI project, right? So what they did is, the line art is done by a human. I know, believe it or not, the line art is done manually, but it's simplified, right? It doesn't have the same details, and the details is what makes animation, take a long time. This does not take that long, right? So you basically essentially get human. You have the I don't know, the animation person in charge of just drawing the animation. They draw out all these I guess it's like outlines. I don't know the term for it, but essentially you get them to draw the outlines of the motion. So I actually don't. Okay, now I take back what I thought. I don't think they used like a video generation model. I think what they did is they used just image models to generate all the frames. That's so interesting. That's just my guess. They drew all the frames for the motion, but they use AI to basically color in and add details, which is different than what I see and what I would even do. What someone like me would do is I would have a video model try to, but like I said, there's limitations to the video models, and obviously, yeah, you're gonna have some errors here and here. But maybe it might be even more complicated than that. Maybe they connected, because even this is pretty smooth. This is where I think maybe they had someone come in and clean up, because there's no way that they were able to generate the in-between frames consistently. But maybe they were. I have no idea, because I'm trying to see if anything warps, and it's just so clean, right? It's so clean. I just don't think that there must have been a lot of cleanup. But who knows? I'll just have to. I wish I could interview one of the people who did this. And then I wonder what the prompt was in order to generate some of this, because they clearly use the line art to control the generation of this character, right? So the line art is what kind of controls this. Let me look at the mouth. Let me see. Okay. Maybe I can even just do yeah. See that part. This is where they would have to have someone come in and clean up this part. So actually, yeah, I think this is where you have someone come in and clean up this part. Because yeah, this is what I would expect AI to struggle with understanding this. You gotta clean up here. The fingers are kind of they're okay. The dress is surprisingly not terrible. You got the line here. Didn't understand the sock, right? Didn't understand that they want the socks all the way up here. So this is where you have to have someone come in. But yeah, just for the first pass, right? And then the hair, that doesn't make any. You still have a gap there, right? So then you'd have someone come in and just kind of clean up. But a lot of the work has already been kind of done. Is the point, right? Yeah, I wonder how long it took them to make this episode. I'm actually kind of curious. And then yeah, you gotta kind of delete. Yeah. yeah. It's kind of what is this? What is this even supposed to be, right? It's supposed to be a speed line, right, or some kind of to indicate motion. But it's kind of nice that the AI kind of understood what they were going for. Kind of. Yeah. It didn't do a terrible job. It's not great. This dress right here, this part. Yeah, they had to have someone come in and clean up. No way, because the final product definitely doesn't look like this. This is not actually the final product. I think a lot of people who are online saying it looks bad actually didn't watch it. They watched this and then they made an assumption. This is not the final product. The final product does not look like this. I don't really care. Okay, so we were just looking. So that's what we were just looking at, right? We were just looking at this, right? This is the final product, right? We're getting there. Give me a second. Right? So you can see this is a lot more cleaned up than what we saw earlier, right? So the mouth looks a lot better. Right? Yeah, so they cleaned up, right? What we were just looking at. And then she takes a bite. Yeah, we were literally just looking at this. And yeah, so they had a lot of cleanup here. Oh my god, why did it just glitch like that? What was that? Okay, yeah. And then the cut, yeah, okay. So that part was cleaned up a lot. Let me see. There was another... I feel like a faster way to train the LoRA, I'm just thinking out loud now, is instead, and I've seen people do this online, I've seen this technique suggested. You take your character, right? So it's like a quicker way to generate your character reference sheet, right? It's a little bit less controlled, but essentially what you do is you make your character once, and then you take it to a video model, and then in the video model you basically tell the character, okay, make the character turn around 360 degrees, or make the camera rotate around the character. So you get basically every kind of angle of the character, and those images you can then feed into to train the LoRA. So that's a quicker way. But in this case, I don't think they did that. What they did is they actually hand drew all the character sheets. But yeah, that's a method you could use. And then if you wanted to get more data, right, so that the AI would actually know how to I guess have less hallucinations. what you could do is like, you could draw the character from the side, like in like, you know, starting back like here, like when they're standing up or whatever. And then, well, not like this per se, but like you get an idea. Okay, you draw the character really nice. You have like the character designer or whatever, draw it really nice. And then you take it to a video model and then you tell it, hey, I want this character to kneel down, or I want it to do this. And then that's just more data or more images you can feed into your LoRA, so that when you get to the point where you're asking the LoRA to like generate this, you know, the pose of them sitting down and whatever, then the AI has a little bit more data to like figure out what everything is supposed to look like without getting all these hallucinations. I'm guessing this is happening because they only train the LoRA on just the standard positions you'll see in a character sheet. But I don't know. I'm hoping I hope I can interview the people or talk to them or get more detail on how they did everything. I don't know if they're trying to keep it an industry secret, but I'm just really curious. I don't want like particular details. I just want to know, like, did they use a video model to do this, like a custom video model, or did they basically just use AI to generate each in-between frame, right? Like generate them individually and then they stitch them together by themselves on their own. Because then you'd be able to control the timing. Because like that's another thing with the video models. Like it's hard to control like the pace in which characters move. It's hard to do that with just words and image, with just image to video. So I don't think they used image to video here. I think what they did is like, I mean, you're literally seeing it. They probably, you know, take this line art. Line art is basically what is used to control the generation of this character. And then you just have to have people come in and clean up like the fingers and like the stuff here. And yeah, like the final product does not look like this. There's a lot of cleanup. And then yeah, like stuff like the hair. Because this is her picking up grass, actually. This is like the first scene. Like, actually, I think we can just go to that scene right now. And then this part, what is this part? I forgot. Let me see. Oh, yeah, and this is essentially just for yeah, because motions like this, like trying to, like, if you really want to, like, control everything in a scene, right? Like, you want something particular. Like, obviously, you can get AI. Like, AI video models are pretty good at, like, this kind of, like, hand motion, like, to an extent. But if you want to control it precisely, right, this is another way you can do it, right? You can basically record the hand or arm of someone who has, like, similar hand structure to the character in question. And then you just do the motion, and then it's essentially the same as what you do with the background. Is essentially just like a style transfer. And there's like products that do this already on the market. There's a commercial product. It's called Domo AI, I believe. And basically, you can take a video and then you choose an animate. It's essentially the equivalent of like a filter. And then obviously, because this isn't very good, you just bring in people to clean up the lines for every frame, which I would guess is less work than having to start from scratch. Right? That would be my guess. That this is less work than, you know, starting from scratch. Yeah. And then here, this is probably that technique we saw earlier where you have someone, you actually use a real person's hand, and they probably weren't even in front of the vending machine in question. They probably just took a recording of their hand in front of a green screen, kind of pointing at different things, and then used the equivalent of like style transfer to transform their live action footage into anime. And then they'd have to have someone come in and clean it up, because like I said, we saw what it looked like when they showed the raw footage, right? But yeah, like this, you don't get this quality first shot. You definitely have to have some cleanup. So maybe that's something we can also do as people who are making AI animes. Literally go into our in-betweens if you have the ability to draw and just clean it up yourself. You know, get into, you know, Clip Studio or whatever and just like go frame by frame and just like clean up the wonky, anything that's too wonky. You know, yeah. Subtract, disable.
Music start.
Okay, so that first part we just saw, all right, so this here, this is 3D. This is all 3D. The part here. Okay, so, and this is just more for my AI film people, right? And AI anime film people who may not have made anime before or animated stuff before. It's just like, you know, we don't have to do everything image to video, right? Like some of it we can just like do like this like traditional, like, you know, you composite and you have some characters standing still, basically only animating what we need to animate. Like this character, she's not moving the entire, like she's just, like if we just focus on her, like, and I think this will help make our films better, right? She's not moving. This character is just we generate this character once. She's not moving. She doesn't have to be moving. The only person who's moving is this person. And these two people have been basically composited onto this background, which was AI generated, probably cleaned up too, honestly. If I'm being honest, I think this is probably, maybe they even generated all these assets and then they recreated, because what they generated with AI, it would be hard to generate this. I'm not gonna say it was impossible, but it would be hard to generate, especially if they use a custom model and not like the top of the line like commercial models. Like to get these, like the text correctly, I feel like they probably had to clean this up, the vending machine. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So this is just like for my anime film people, right? Like, you know, only animating what you need to animate, right? Because I think that the current methods that I've seen, and I do this too, is you generate the entire scene with AI, right? So you try to find a way to generate a consistent version of the girl, or you'd have to do like in painting. So you generate her and like some other girl looking at each other, and then you'd like in paint out you would outpaint this character and then inpaint your other character using your other LoRA that you trained on this character. And that's how you would get two consistent characters in the same scene. And then you take that entire image and then you'd animate it, and then you'd somehow have to add in the prompt, this girl is not talking, and then this girl is talking. Whereas what they did, which is because, you know, they're used to making anime and like taking all the shortcuts, right? That and that's what would make it feel more like anime probably, is, you know, if this character's not talking, doesn't need to talk, she doesn't have to move. She's just listening. She can just be there standing. And I think that works for anime in a way that it doesn't work for live action. Like, you can't do this with live action. You can't have the character just sitting there. It looks weird. Whereas for anime, it's fine. We're told most people are actually completely used to like having characters who aren't talking or who are just there to listen, to just be like literally stationary, like frozen, right? Like, that's completely normal, right? She's not moving. The only thing that's moving is her, you know, her eyes. But I almost feel like you could animate that just like as a separate asset. You just have like blinking eye. Yeah, so this character is basically not moving, and she's moving. She's doing all, you know. And obviously, we saw the workflow they used to animate the characters. They probably had to clean up every frame, right? Yeah, so that's that, and then so that was just like more like a note for myself. Another thing they do, and another thing we should also try to do, is try to keep your stories such that you don't have to have multiple characters in the same frame. So that's just like, I think a lot of people do that as well. And they do it in anime as well, because it's easier to animate one person in a frame as opposed to animating 10 people in the same frame. Like, trying to do all that. Yeah, like, try to make it as easy as you can, right? Like, try to write your story and your script so that you don't have to have like 12 different people interacting in the same frame. Yeah, so it's another thing. Okay, that's that. Let me see. And then this scene here, same idea. She's just standing. She's not like this entire scene. I'll just go real quick. She is literally just standing still. She's not moving. The background, everything else is stationary. The only person, and obviously these two characters have been composited there, right? So she's moving. They probably even did it in layers, right? Because this seems a little bit out of focus. So they probably generated this, and then the background. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, because how do you get this out of focus effect? Maybe the photo was also out of focus. Who knows? Yeah, so you get this good depth of field, but they could have done it in like layers. So you have the background in one layer, and then this mid-ground, and then the characters are composited on top. Yeah. Let's see. Continue, and then we saw how this scene was also generated. So I'll just skip ahead. Let's see. Is anything else interesting? Oh, this scene was actually kind of interesting to me. Okay. So the background, as usual, is probably all AI generated, right? Maybe even you have like, maybe it's two separate layers. You have, right, yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, maybe the photo was just literally out of focus to get the, because I'm like, or you can, I think there's ways in Photoshop actually I take it back. There's ways in Photoshop to achieve this like out of focus effect as well. But as you can tell, like the background, like a lot of what they did is, a lot of the motions are pretty simple. Like, you try not to like have it where like the character, like the background has to move too much. The only thing they might do is like zoom in and zoom out and like expand it so that it gives a sense of like, you know, like the camera is tracking the character's motion. I'll show it later when there's like a running scene. But essentially this is just, you know, the character generated from the back. And then I think you literally could like, maybe like, this is something I would take away is like, okay, generate the character walking away from the camera, and then you composite that, zoom in, and then you manually move the character, you manually shrink the character so that it seems like the character is also walking away. Yeah, I'm not really sure. Yeah, but continue. See, she's not moving. Like look at that. Like, you just eat up runtime, right? Like, think about that. Like, she's not moving. Like, I think the key to a lot of AI anime has to if we're gonna make it right, we got to take these shortcuts where it's like you don't have to have the character moving the whole time. Like, this is easy, right? Like, she's just, I mean, and it helps to build like tension as well. It's like, okay, she's not looking at the character. She's not looking at her sister. She's clearly, we're clearly trying to display that she's hiding her emotions. You can feel that she's upset, right? Okay. Yeah. And then she starts moving, and then you just show it just a little bit, and then you continue. Right. And then this is, you achieve all this like out of focus effect with like Photoshop. No AI animation needed there. Nothing. Like, that's just you zooming in, zooming out. Like, character, like, okay, literally, let me see how could you achieve this effect, right? Like, if I just go back, why can't I just go back like a few seconds with VLC Media Player? Okay. Okay. So, yeah, I think what they had is they just had the character walking. So they have the full image of the character, or maybe they just, I don't know. So they have the character walking, and then you just maybe just move them, like in, I don't know, after, I don't know. I usually just use, I could achieve this in CapCut with just keyframes, and you just take the character, you know, composite it onto the video, and then you just gotta like pull her out of frame, right? And then this character, she might as well just be part of the background. She's not moving, like she's just stationary. So it's like taking these little, and then this is just, yeah, you're just zooming in. Her facial expression's not changing. There you go. Okay, so she's just moving. Like there's no shadows or anything, right? So this character is just composited, right? And I think because getting this kind of interaction, like I probably could generate this scene, like generating this scene in this specific way is very hard. That's very hard to control, to generate. That's why like this character is composited. You basically animate this on its own and then composite it, and then you animate this on its own and then you composite it. Instead of what we usually do is in the anime AI space is we try to generate the scene, and then we try to prompt for all of this, like, okay, she walks away, and then the girl with the red hair, she's reaching, like, yeah, we're never gonna get I don't think we'll ever get to the point where AI models can understand our intention, because there's just not enough information in a prompt, in like text, to explain a lot of this. Yeah, so I think the compositing technique is just really, I think that's where I want to go with my films moving forward. It's really trying to perfect this, because you can just control so much more when you basically, this is just like the traditional 2D cell animation technique. You know, you got your background, you got your foreground, you got your midground, and it's just everything is in layers. A character, I mean, she's not really even like, there's no, like when she's moving, there's no shadow, like there's no real shadow or anything. There might be a little thing underneath her, but I don't see, and for this scene you don't even need it. You just make sure that when you draw the character, you make sure you draw it with the right lighting so that it's believable, so that it kind of matches the scene, and that's all. That's it. Yeah. Okay, and then this is just more of the same. Right, her moving. It's just, yeah, more of the same. Okay, this cat, right? So this cat scene was actually kind of interesting to me. Okay, so this part, right? So it's the same. Like it's the same thing. It's just the traditional. So you could try to do like the video models are actually pretty good with like this tracking shot. So you could literally be like cat running at high speed to the left. Camera tracking shot or whatever, but like to get this like this blur, I think it's like you probably could just put this entire scene, but if you wanted to control everything and like how the background looks specifically, right, instead of having the video model like guessing what the next part should look like you would just generate the background, and then you zoom in on like the cat and like this area, and then you'd have the cat running, and then you would basically in CapCut or in After Effects, I believe is the animation software, you just basically keyframe, just move the background yourself, add a little bit of motion blur, and you got this, right? And then obviously when you're animating, so this part with like for AI film, like you could just get cat running on green screen, right? And then it'll generate the shadow, right? You'll have the shadow, so that when you key it out, you also get the shadow on the ground. You'd still get the shadow on the ground, and when you key it out, when you key out the green, I guess when you get rid of the green, when you chroma key, god damn it, words. When you use chroma key, you'll still preserve the shadow with the cat. Yeah, and then this like glitch effect is just like probably something like a filter or something you can do with After Effects or Photoshop or whatever. Yeah, and it's the same thing with her running. Like she's they generate. I mean, the way they generated the animation again is like they actually used like simple line art to control the animation, but in our case as AI animators, if we wanted to, we would just forget the background, right? Like we generate the background on our own. That's how you keep it like a consistent world. You would go out, take photos, or you generate, in my case, I'm thinking of actually you generate an image of an area of a scene, right? So the inside of a room. So you generate one wall of the room, right? And then you use a video model, and then you just scan it, kind of like Google Maps in a sense. Like you would scan the entire, you get all 360, all the angles, and then you have basically every angle that you want for your scene, and then you just place characters in that scene, in those images, by compositing them or inpaint. If you can inpaint them, if you've got like your own LoRAs and everything, you can inpaint those characters into the scene. So multiple ways to get like a consistent, or if you want, I think ChatGPT is actually pretty good at character consistency in the sense, like putting characters, there's a lot of different methods, but what they did is, you composite this character running, probably against like a green screen or whatever, and then you just are moving the background. You zoomed in and you're moving the background yourself with keyframes in like CapCut or in After Effects or whatever. Car, traditional car. You don't have to animate the wheels. You just move the car on one layer, and then she's on a different layer, or on the same layer probably. Yeah. So this running scene, that's just an example of something I'd like to take over to my own works. Oh, and then this scene is actually really interesting to me. Like this, I believe this, they actually just probably, if I just go through this scene, oh my god, without like the freaking glitching. Come on, VLC, don't be nice. So this scene, oh, what the hell was that? This scene was probably, that scene was probably all, so they probably took video footage, and then this is just like a style, this is like basically the equivalent of like a filter. So they probably went out into the real world and they just put a filter on top of the, and gave it like an anime stylized version. Yeah, because this doesn't look like they didn't draw any of this. They didn't even, I wouldn't even say they generated any of that. They probably just took real life video footage and yeah, did all that. Or they could have done that in 3D, but I think it's probably easier to, and it does kind of look like live action footage, if I'm being honest. Like it kind of does, but, and yeah, like these lines, these are like way too sharp. Yeah, this looks like stylized live action footage. So yeah, that's another technique you can use in your films if you want to like show like POV. If you're able to like go to different locations, if you want to give like the sense of like POV, like maybe your character's running away from someone in a field instead of like, for anime at least, it probably works. And maybe it even works for like hybrid, like, you know, live action footage. If you can find location of a field, or if you can find video footage of someone running through a field, then you just like stylize that. That's really good. Okay, this is a cat standing still. Okay. Okay, this, oh no, go back. This, oh my god. Here, oh my god, pause. Okay, so this scene, so she's not moving, right? Again, she's not moving. Her hands, she's not, and this is the thing, like, and this is why I'm so interested in this project, because I have been, for the longest, trying to like generate scenes with everyone, like, okay, I need to generate like the consistent background with the character in the scene, and then the other person also in the scene, and like that is hard. Like that's hard to do with AI. It's not easy. And to get it to be everything to be consistent one shot, like this obviously has lots of cleanup in it. But it's obviously less work than trying to do all of this from scratch, right? So, but the way this looks is like, this is one character on one layer, this is another character on a different layer, and then you just composite everyone together so that it looks like she's like, you know, on top and she's underneath. The background is obviously generated, and then she's on top of the background. There's like a little bit of a shadow there, I guess. They could have made, they maybe did that. That's probably part of the cleanup, is like adding the shadow, I'm guessing. Yeah, it does look like, it does kind of look like they added the shadow in post, right? Yeah, that's probably, so that's the part of animation I'm not used to, is like how normal this is, like the adding of shadow. I'm sure it's pretty normal. You just basically get this character and then you like, you got the outline and then you just kind of, or actually, yeah, actually it's not that hard. This is just an, yeah, no, I see it. I see it. It's just like, just a shadow move though. Yeah, it's kind of like when you create an image and then you create the there's usually like it's like a one click where it's like, okay, give me the shape, like for the shape I want a shadow for the shape. It kind of, maybe that's kind of what they did here. Maybe I don't know, who knows. But yeah, it's just, again, like, you know, just a little bit of a blinking eye, like we're eating up runtime here a little bit, and we're still telling the story. So like only animating what you need to animate is like the key here. There's a lot of wide shots and a lot of like establishing shots. They do a lot, like they'll start talking and then they'll show you some other part of the world while they're talking. Because I mean, you don't have to show the character talking while they're talking, right? Like that's something else that you can pick up on. Like it doesn't, like it makes your job easier, and I think it's also kind of more interesting, right? Like it's less interesting to sit here and watch these two people talk. Like technically, from like a technical standpoint, getting it like, oh yeah, you know, I got like 20 seconds of consistent lip sync, as opposed to I lip sync maybe 5 seconds of it, and then I do something, I show you some other part of the world. I think that's probably more interesting as well. Yeah, so, and this is just more of the same, probably with lots of cleanup. Again, trying to do this in anime, trying to do this with like traditional image generation would be kind of hard. So a lot of this is like, okay, this is one layer, they're in the mid ground, I guess, and then the background is the sky. So it's like one layer, they're like layer 2, and then the sky is like layer 3, and then you've got, and this is probably like literally a photo, right? So they take a photo from this angle, right, turn it into AI, anime style with AI or whatever, and then you go into like, I guess Photoshop or whatever, or After Effects. I'm not really sure. I use CapCut for everything. Almost CapCut and Canva. So you could do this in Canva too. You just like select this, and then they're different objects, different layers, and then you maybe export them, put them back together in CapCut, and then you have these characters moving. So you like a zoomed out. Actually, you'd have like a zoomed in version of them walking, and then when you bring them back into whatever CapCut or whatever software you're using, Then you just zoom out, you just shrink them, and then you have them walking. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's how you do it. Yeah. Oh, the camera's moving. So they even have, let me see. Would this be possible with like the camera moving? Yeah, it's not really a tilt. The camera's not really tilting. It's more of like you're just moving up. So this layer is moving up just slowly, and it just adds, it's just a little bit of camera motion just to make it interesting. And then this is back to 3D. Like you doing this dance, no, like you can't, like there's no AI generator. There are, so actually I do want to get to the dance actually. Now I think about it, right? So there are ways to do, so they did this with 3D, but there are ways to do this with 2D. I will link some in the description and I'll put some on screen right now. But essentially there is a way to get 2D models or 2D characters to be controlled in animation with like motion capture. One of them is called Mimic Motion. That's the one I'm the most familiar with. But I think there should be some like more updated versions. This is something I used maybe like 5 or 6 months ago, and it was still pretty good. It was pretty good. I'll show some footage. My chroma key skills were not very good, and the one I generated had a little bit of like hallucination, so it was kind of hard to like keyframe them out consistently. But essentially, I was able to kind of do something like this, where you can control the motion of the character with your own camera, with your own motion capture. I'll show like my raw footage. I might, if I'm brave enough, I might chicken out, but I don't want you guys to see my cringe dancing. But essentially, you can control a character, a 2D character. So as AI anime filmmakers, we don't need to do this whole 3D rigging thing. We could try, and there's a whole bunch you can find on like Run Comfy that do this, that have this like whole workflow set up for you, so you don't have to like think about it. But there are some open source models that you can play with that will allow you to take your 2D character and combine it with motion capture. So hire yourself a dancer, or you go ahead and get in front of a green screen and do the dancing yourself. And there you go. You combine them, and out comes the same thing you would do with like 3D and like rigging and all that. Yeah. And I think that's all I wanted to talk about here. Yeah. That's really all there is. It's just like, yeah, trying your best to minimize, and like I'm sure there's like a video, and I'm gonna find it, and if I find it, I'll post it, like shortcuts in animation. Shortcuts in anime and animation, like and this probably goes for like fight scenes as well, you know, because those AI video models kind of struggle with that. So we need to find ways to like use the learnings from like the animation industry to like still tell stories visually, but not have to, you know, make compromises with like the warping and blurring, because sometimes we just don't, like when we have that kind of warping and blurring, we don't need that in our scenes, right? And like the whole, like, I think a lot of like films still have like the consistent world problem. It's not as much a problem now because of ChatGPT and the updates to Sora. You can generate scene to scene consistency, at least with the background. Like consistency with characters was not a problem hasn't been a problem for at least I'd say a year or so, but like still the hurdle has been like consistent backgrounds, and scene to scene background consistency has been a challenge. But with ChatGPT, with the updates to ChatGPT and Sora, those have been largely fixed. There are some methods you can use with like 3D, and I will be pointing out someone who used 3D in a very interesting way that I personally I'd like to explore one day. Yeah, so there's another way to create a consistent world. You literally generate like a 3D model of a world, and then you'd create 3D models of characters, and then you would basically generate animations with those characters in the world. It's very interesting. I'll talk about it in a different video. But yeah, we just need to take like shortcuts from the anime industry and from animation, because these are things we can actually get away with in anime that we cannot get away with in live action. With live action, you cannot get away with like a character just standing still, like literally still, like not moving. Like that just does not work with live action, and it can for us, and it can make our work a lot easier, and make our films look a little bit better. And if you can draw, I know there's some people who are in this space, and I talk to them, they can actually draw. They can draw. They know their way around like a lot of these like drawing tools. So I'd encourage them, like, you know, when you get those warps in your animation, like you can probably just go in there and clean it up yourself. That's what they did in this project. So yeah, I think that's it. That's all I have to say about just analyzing this. I recorded like an hour 20. I might keep the entire thing unedited for the most part, but yeah, till then, I'll see you in the next video.